My name is Chris Stetler, and I'm the Acumatica Practice Manager at Cargas Systems in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Today, we're going to go over an Acumatica high-level overview and show you the ins and outs of the Cloud ERP software. So let's get into the details of the software. Acumatica is a browser-based cloud offering built from the ground up, and it's specifically built for a web environment, but can be deployed as an on-premise environment as well. So you have a couple options of your deployment: private cloud, Acumatica, or your own on-premise environment. It's supported by most any browser, and it's also role-based business management offering that is intuitive and easy to use. What that means is everything is role-based as opposed to user-based. So if you have an AP manager that only needs to see things related to accounts payable, you can set it up so that it's only visible by them and they can't see anything like management reports or any kind of other financial information like cash balances. Your data can be accessed from anywhere you have internet access and on any device. So a desktop computer, tablet, smartphone. Acumatica will automatically adjust to accommodate whatever device you are using. And Acumatica supports multi-company and multi-currency environments. And everything that you see today is from an out-of-the-box functionality in this demo, and there are no customizations or third-party products being used. First section in our demo today is around Acumatica's user interface and navigation. We're going to go over things like the user interface, navigation via workspaces, universal search, some dashboards, as well as the user experience with side panels, quick filters, and favorites. Let's go ahead and discuss our workspaces over here on the left-hand side. So like I said, everything is role-based. So if you have access and you are, in fact, an admin like I am, you would be able to see everything that I can see over here, as well as additional workspaces that we're subscribed to. So things like banking, finance, data views, payables, sales orders, everything that you see here is going to be based on whatever role and whatever permissions that are set by your admin or your CFO. If I dive into a workspace, you can see all the menu items that are related to that workspace. You can also see easy quick tiles up at the top here that you can add and change the names of anything in here in order to make it easier for your employees to find things or process daily transactions. You can see here I also can show all and show a lot more, but if it's a lot for somebody to see, we can go ahead and show less, and they can only see the ones that they're actually related to, or their job is related to on a day-to-day basis. But you can see for each individual workspace that we have over here is all the different options and all the different functions that we can provide in that individual workspace. You can also see up here that we have the ability to switch between companies and branches. So we can see here we have 3 different companies with 4 different branches that we can work in. So you can either work on the company level or down into each individual branch level. And you can also have those be visible only to those people that are involved in those companies. So if somebody isn't, for example, part of the Services West branch of the Revision 2 services, then we can go ahead and we can remove them from that, and they will not even see that as an option to dive into. So no ability to post transactions to a company that they are not supposed to be posting to. You can also see here we have our calendar as well as the current time that you can click on and take a look at things. And then we have here is our different roles and our different users here. And so this is where I can go ahead and change between different roles if I had access to that, as well as sign out and see all that relevant information there. You can see here the universal search is one of the most powerful features in here and makes it easy access to your employees and users of the system to access the data as quickly as possible. We're calling this universal search. So for example, if I come up here and I type in 1099 and click enter, you're going to see 4 different areas up top here. So we have menu items, so anything related or functions related to actually going into and processing a 1099 transaction. We have transactions and profiles, so anything that has 1099 either in the name, maybe it's a project number, maybe it's the a customer case, a customer issue here that has 1099 in the name of it, as well as help topics. So here's an easy way to one of your employees just forgets how to process 1099s. Come in here and you can have all these help topics, how to configure, how to close out the 1099 year, etc. And then as well as any files that may have 1099 in the name. So any file that is attached to a transaction in Acumatica, you can go ahead and you can search for that as well. So it makes it very easy to be able to quickly search for things, whether you know the project number or you know the customer phone number. For example, if I come in here and I go 212-555, let's just start with that. I know those first ones here. If I come in here and go to transactions and profiles, you can see here now I have 3 different contacts that start with 212-555 in the phone number. Okay, so I can quickly get to those individual transactions there as well. There's also this function of recent places here, so recent records. And so this just makes it easy. Everything that I've been doing here for the last couple of days, I can quickly click in here and get to that transaction again. So if I know I did something on Friday, I come in on Monday morning and I'm like, I want to get right back to what I was doing there. Come in here to recent records and go ahead and click into that transaction. And it also categorizes it by record types over here on the left-hand side. Next thing we're going to look at today is dashboards. Dashboards are like live reports with drill back capabilities in Acumatica. Think of it kind of as a visual representation of your live data. You can use things like colors, line plots, different visual indicators to bring issues to your attention. Each user can also have their own dashboard. So again, it's role-based, so you can have your individual dashboard with the pertinent information that you feel is necessary for your day-to-day functionality, or you can also limit the amount of items and information that each user is able to see. So if we take a look here at our customer view, you can see a few different things here. We have 8 late orders. We have 157 open opportunities. We have overdue AR. We have top 10 sold items. So just a lot of visual representations of important information that we're going to need on a day-to-day, or things that we want to see when we wake up in the morning, we get into the office, and this is the first thing we want to see as just say a customer service representative or AR clerk or whoever it may be. They want to see some of this information here. Okay, like I said, it's very easy to drill into certain things here. So let's just go ahead and let's look at those 8 late orders. Go ahead and click into that, and it's going to bring up our inquiry here that we can see all of those 8 late orders that have come in here. Okay, so you can see all of our order numbers, you can see a description, account IDs, names, etc., all of the information. And then over here, what's driving that report is when is it requested, when was it due, and if it obviously has not been paid yet, you can see that here. So if I go back to my customer view here, and I go ahead and I click on design, you can see now we can individually edit each one of these little KPIs or cards or graphs or lists, whatever you want to see here. So if I just click on this late orders one that we were just in there and we look at our widget properties, you can see some of the things here. Let's refresh it every 12 hours. If we wanted to do it every single time we reload, every 5 minutes, etc. What's our aggregate field, our function, some of the normal colors here. What's our warning? So if it gets over a certain parameter, it's going to turn red. And then visualization type, and then what we're calling it here. So there's a couple different things that we can do here, and then it all ties back to our inquiry screen, and that's where the information comes from. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll show you how to filter this out first. So if we go in here and say we want to get to a certain customer ID here, like we only want to see one customer, and that's Alt to Ace. I go ahead and click Alt to Ace. You can see now everything changes, and it's only going to be information related to Alt to Ace. Okay. So when I click into orders to ship, you're going to see that it's filtered out by Alt to Ace. So now if I go back and I just go back to my Acumatica, I clear out my customer account. Now you can see it's back to regular, all of my individual customers across the whole system. One thing I said before, again, is the ability to have everything filtered out, not only by the filters that you want to put up here at the top, but also by individual companies and branches. So if you have someone who is only a part of Services East for their Division 2 services, then they would only see information related to that entity. Okay, they're not going to see everything else that we see here. Remember, I'm admin, so I'm able to see everything in the system in this environment. If I wanted to go ahead and add a new widget here, so I can go ahead and click design. Like I said, that allows me to edit all of my other widgets. But if I wanted to add a new widget here, I can click on that. You can see all the different information and widgets that I can put on here. So we have our charts, our data tables. If we want to embed a page or a document within a widget here, we have KPIs, so things like cash balances, cash trends from the accounting world, things like EBITDA, bottom line numbers, gross profit margin, different kind of calculations. We can add pivot tables, Power BI tables, as well as a couple other options here. So options are endless for the information that you want to see. You're going to get a ton of out of the box dashboards here. So if I click on my dashboards menu, again, I'm admin, so you can see everything here. But if you're just if you're a purchasing manager and that's all you want that person to see, that's all they'll see when they log in. And so their dashboard would look a little something like this here. Okay, and then they can go ahead and they can change different branches and whatnot. So you can see there's about 25, 30 dashboards out of the box that you can get. But again, easily able to copy, change things around, customize it for each individual that is going to be using the system. Another thing I want to show quickly is the idea of quick filters. So if I go into my payables and let's just go into our bills and adjustments, for example. Sorry, give it a second to load. There's a bunch of them in there. If I come in here and I want to go ahead and filter this out by something, I can click on type here. And if I want to sort ascending, I want to take out different views or different columns that are in here, I can go ahead and I can sort ascending. I can sort by reference number, status number, all kinds of things there. Okay, if I wanted to quickly edit the record, I can click into it. I can do all that right from here. And if I click on filter settings over here, I can go ahead and I can add different types of properties in order to show me a scaled down list. So if I wanted to do only amount that is greater than, let's go with, what's some of the numbers on here? Let's go with $1,000 here. And I go ahead and I click apply. You can see now I'm only seeing records that are greater than $1,000. Okay, if I wanted to save that filter, I can go ahead and I can say save and let's go greater than 1,000. Okay, click OK. And now that filter is available up here. Okay, so we have all records, we have greater than 1,000. Next, we're going to move into order to invoice in Acumatica. We can see here I'm back on my customer view dashboard where I can see all my orders to ship, open ops, overdue opportunities, overdue AR, etc. If I want to go in and process a sales order, I can come in here and I can click on sales order. And remember too, every one of these can be a favorite. Okay, so if sales orders is something that I use quite often, I can add it as a favorite and then I can come in here and I can click new, or I can click in and see old sales orders. First, I want to show you an old sales order that's been completed. So if I click into here, it's going to bring me back to my original record. And you can see a couple different pieces of information here. Down here in the details tab, you're going to see all of the individual items that were part of this sales order. You're going to see the quantity, you're going to see the open quantity, what the unit price is, what the extended price is, a couple different options here down in this area. One of the nice things about Acumatica as a whole is the column configurator. Okay, and so what that means is I'm able to move things around. If I don't like to see it there, I can move it all the way over here. I can also take it away by just clicking in here. And let's say I don't want to show anything that's a free item. And I also don't want to show anything that is a whatever it may be, requested on or unbilled amount. Or let's do term end date, just for purposes of showing you here. Okay, so you're able to move columns around. You're able to hide columns, and you're able to add columns very easily down here. We also have these different tabs and different sections on all of the information on the sales order and on the items. Okay, so we have information about what the preferred method is, what the payment information was for that check, where it was deposited, what are normal terms related to the different customers, if there's any discounts available, if there was a shipment. So you can see here, this was an actual shipment that went out. The nice thing about sales orders, when you process them, you can create the shipping label right within the system here. So you're able to print that shipping label and email that to that person, or the warehouse is able to print it out and put it on that shipment right away. So you don't need any kind of third party, and you don't need any kind of outside WMS system to handle everything. Everything happens right inside of Acumatica here. Another nice thing about all records in Acumatica is the ability to add notes here. So we can see enter a record note for this individual sales order record. We need to contact the customer about the shipping address. Maybe we got something back that said no longer valid, or we need to update it per the customer. We also have the ability to attach files here. So if I have any kind of picture of one of the items on here, or if there's anything that I want to attach to this file and send via email along with the sales, the original or the eventual sales invoice, I can do that right here and I can attach that. Okay, super easily. I can also create a new sales order right from here. So if I wanted to just go ahead and create a new sales order, create add record. Now we get the sales order type. It's going to give me an automatic. We have just an automatic sales order numbering system here. I have all my dates, order number, references, and then I come over here to my customer record, and this is an intuitive field here. So I can just start typing. So if I just start typing Alta, you can see Alta Ace comes up. It's going to apply that to a primary location, contact, currency. This is not a project related invoice, so I'll leave that as non-project code. And then I come down here to my details, and this is where I can add items. Okay, so if I click on my add items button here, you can see all the individual items that are out there and able to be added to this sales order piece here. So let's go ahead and let's add the Acer laptop computer. You can see here I can do all kinds of filters and selections. I can also do a sold since, which is really cool. So if I can say sold since, let's back this up to 23 to show some items there. So everything that's been sold to this customer, all the items since 2023, 1/15 of 2023. You can see the quantity of the last sales. You can see what the last unit prices were. So you can kind of keep your eye on trends and things that you've been doing with this customer since you started here. So if I go ahead and click add and close, it's going to add that item here. You can see I currently have an item quantity of 1. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move my extended price over to here, my unit price to here, so I can just see it a little bit better. Okay, so now you can see if I change my quantity, Acumatica is really smart about discounts. So they have discounts on the customer record or on the item record. So if I change this to a quantity of 3 times 500 would normally be 1,500. But if I move that out there, now we're showing a $25 discount on each item because they ordered a quantity of 3. So it's smart enough to know how to do that in here. Okay. We can also go over here and look at any invoices and memos that are related to this customer if we wanted to. Customer details, as also any related return documents that we need to there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. You can see a couple other tabs here like I was telling you about before. If there's any payments, prepayments that are in here, any shipments that have been done on this individual sales order. So maybe you shipped half of the items already. It would show here as a shipment. We have the addresses for the customer and all the important information in order to go ahead and process that shipment. Okay. So then if I go in here and I click on, well, let's go back and let's now go to and switch hats here to a shipping clerk. So say this person is someone that comes in every day, they're taking a look at what was processed the prior day or the prior week. And we can see now that we have that brand new sales order that's open on her dashboard. So we click into that. It's going to come in here. You can see my 3 quantity for my $14.25 extended price. We have all of our information. That person says, okay, that shipping clerk says, okay, everything looks good. They can go ahead and they can create shipment. Okay, so now we're creating a shipment. Which warehouse are we coming out of? It's going to default to where the item was added on the sales order. And then we go ahead and we click OK. And now it's creating a shipment for us here. Okay. And now we have a shipment screen here. Now we can see what we're shipping. So it's a ship quantity of 3. We're going ahead and we're going to say, you can see return labels. You can print a pick list here if we wanted to, and send that to the customer. And if you wanted to do things like that, we certainly can on this screen here. Okay, so let me get back to get rid of that one, get back here. So now we can see, let me make this full screen again. Sorry about that. So now we can see here that if we click in and we take a look at shipping, we take a look at confirm shipment, everything looks good. And we want to go ahead and we want to create that shipment and confirm it. Just click on confirm shipment. And now we have the option to prepare invoice. So you can see at the top here, and this is going to go along with most of the functionality within within Acumatica, where we're able to go ahead and utilize, individual processes start to finish all from one screen. So you don't have to keep jumping around and doing things like that. So if we wanted to now go ahead and prepare invoice, we can look at a couple different things here, all of our details, all of our orders, our shipping, the addresses and the packaging that we sent out here. If we wanted to go ahead now and prepare invoice, we can click on that there. We'll let that process. Now we have the invoice that we can go ahead and we could email out to the customer. We can email it, print it and mail it, whatever we want to do here. And then once we have everything looks good and we want to release that, we can go ahead and we can release that. So that was order to invoice. Now taking a look at our agenda, we're going to move on to the mobile capabilities of Acumatica. Acumatica comes with a free app that you can download from the App Store on iOS or Android, as well as any iPad or iPhone can use a browser-based system to log into your instance. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, do a screen mirroring. So you can see here, I'm going to click on the Acumatica app and down in the bottom right there, and it's going to open that up. Utilize the Face ID to log in automatically. And then you can see here what we have on our quote unquote dashboard on our mobile app here. You can see a couple of KPIs that I can add there. I can add new ones if I wanted to. You can see our recently visited items here in the middle. So we can see those sales orders that we just worked on in a prior module there. And then you can see all of your workspaces that you have access to. So time and expense, where you can enter expense receipts, which I'll show you in a bit. CRM, projects, sales orders, everything that you see in the Acumatica website, you're able to see on the mobile app and do most of the functions that you're able to do in the actual browser. You can see clicking into an individual sales order, you can see all that information. You can see there's not as many tabs to do things, but you can get most of your information in from there. And so it's really nice to have this, to be able to have guys in the field, guys or gals in the field that are, pulling inventory from trucks, entering expense receipts, say they're going to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy something for a project. You can easily do that on the fly and not have to worry about paper floating around or not getting things into the accounting system and ERP in a timely manner. So if I go back here and let's just go to our time and expenses here, and let's click on expense receipts. Let's go ahead and you can see all the ones that I have in here. Let's go and add a new one. And then on description, I encourage you to use text to talk. Excuse me, because don't feel like typing a bunch of stuff. You can add as much information as you want in here. So I'm going to go ahead, dinner with ABC Construction. Okay, let's just leave the date as today. Expense item, we're going to go in here and we're going to search and we're going to take a look and say that was a business dinner and lunch. Amount is $57.70. And then down here, we can tag it to a project if we needed to. We can create it or call it as billable to a customer. We can add different locations and then different details, branches, etc. But what I want to do here is down in the bottom left is click on files. Let's go ahead and let's attach that receipt to it. So I go like that. Click done. Now I have a receipt in on that expense item. And then if I click save, now you can see that dinner with ABC Construction is right there at the top. Okay. Some other thing, and I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. So if you wanted to create an actual expense claim and submit an expense report, you can do that here. And then going back to here, you can see there's a couple different other options that you can do. Like if you're out in the field doing field service in construction world or equipment management, you can create work orders, create contracts or service orders. Complete them, start your time. You can do all kinds of stuff out in the field here. You also have access to some of the dashboards. So if I go in here and I click on just our sales manager dashboard, you can see a couple different items here. 94 wins, 79 losses, looking at all these pretty colors and graphs and things that you have here to visually show you what, where you're at as far as what your quota, year-to-date sales versus quota, etc. Again, everything's drillable, so you can get into there. You can also turn the screen sideways and see how that looks, and then also go back up to here. Make this bigger again. So then if I go back to my home screen here, and let's go ahead and let's get back into the Acumatica area here. So I'm going to go into my time and expenses. I'm going to go into my expense receipts. And then you're going to see right away here is that dinner with ABC Construction that I just entered on my mobile phone. That could be 150 miles away. It doesn't matter. It's going to show up in live time on your Acumatica instance here. Okay. And then if I go to files, you can see that image of that actual receipt that I just took and all the information here. And then you can go ahead and you can then turn it into a expense report and submit it for reimbursement. All processed right within the Acumatica app as well as the Acumatica database. Next, we're going to go into the workflows, approvals, and assignment process within Acumatica. Acumatica has approval processes, assignment processes that are available throughout the entire program on the buy side, on the sell side, expense reports, expense receipts, etc. So there's a lot of capabilities to set up approval workflows and different criteria to allow transactions to go through and be posted to the general ledger. So if we come back here, I'm still entered in here as admin, logged in as myself. If I come into my purchase, or excuse me, if I come into our assignment and approval maps, you can see these are all the ones that we have loaded in here into this demo environment. Okay, so you can see what the name is, you can see where it comes to, where it goes to. So purchase orders, requisitions, sales orders, bills, equipment time cards. We have all kinds of different assignments and approval maps in here for this instance of Acumatica. We're going to focus on the PO two-step approval. We're going to dive into that one here. And you're going to see a couple different things here. So here's our rules. Okay, so first and foremost, if anyone enters a PO, it needs to be approved by the accountant. And then there's also a rule that says executive approval for large POs. Okay, so if we look at this one first, you can see if any PO is entered and it's removed from a hold status, meaning we received it, we're entering it into the approval process. Hold equals null or not checked off, and the purchase order work group ID is empty, which means it hasn't been approved yet. The approval work group ID automatically populates once it's actually been approved. So you can see is the first line of defense here is going to be Layla, who's going to approve that. Then we also have another rule that says, okay, if it's off of hold, it's 0. If the approval ID is not empty, right? So maybe Layla approved it, but it's more than 5,000, then it needs to go to Maxwell Baker in order to approve. Okay, so you can see how easy it is to add different layers of rules, different conditions on each rule, all within one assignment and approval map. And then what you do is assign that approval map to an individual transaction or an object in Acumatica to be able to follow that workflow. So same goes for POs, same goes for sales orders, same goes for quotes, whatever it may be. Super easy here to go ahead and assign those to multiple different areas of the system. Okay, so if I go in here now, I just want to show you how the approval process works. So if I come over here to my second tab, you can see I'm now logged in as Regina Wiley, who is just, who's a purchasing manager or purchasing folks. She's going to enter a PO here and send it out for approval. So if we go ahead, you can see she's only able to see purchase order, and this goes back to the roles that we were talking about earlier. You can see she doesn't have nearly as many workspaces to get to. She doesn't have nearly as many dashboards that she can view. If I switch back over to my admin, you can see all this stuff that I have access to. And then you come here to Regina, it's much more limited. So that goes back to the role-based area where you don't have to have them have access to the entire system. You can keep it pretty well tied down if you need to. So if I'm in here as Regina, let's go to our purchases. Let's go ahead and let's add a new purchase order. And let's just select our vendor. Let's just pick any old one here. AA Services. Let's come down here and add inventory. So let's just go to the Acer laptop. And then let's go ahead and click 5 there as our quantity. Okay. And then everything looks good. You can see it's in an on hold status here. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. It now assigns it a PO number. And then if we want to remove hold and send that through the approval process, just go ahead and select remove hold. Now you can see pending approval. Okay. If I were to try to click on approve here, I'm going to get an error that says you are not an authorized approver for this document. Okay. So everything's working the way it should. And then if I come back here to my purchasing manager dashboard, so now I'm under admin, so I have the ability to approve anything here. Let's go ahead and let's go to our purchasing manager. You can see I have one order pending approval here. Let's click on that. And that other one from before just came up as well. So let's click on that. Open this up here. So now you can see here, I can approve this if I need to or reject it. So I'm going to go ahead and approve it. And now you can move on and enter the PO receipts, process your inventory, enter your accounts payable bill, and continue on the process if you need to. Okay, so coming back out of here then, I refresh. You can see now that one went away and there's only one more to approve. And last but not least, let's move on to reporting. There are three types of reporting tools within Acumatica Cloud ERP. We have the Financial Report Writer or the Analytical Report Manager, or ARM. We have the standard reports from the Report Designer, as well as the Generic Inquiry Writer. All three are standard and included with Acumatica. The Financial Report Writer is your standard financial reports like your profit and loss, budget to actuals, balance sheets, and comparative reports. It's web-based utility that requires no programming skills. You define your row sets, column sets, unit sets, sub-accounts, and calculated values. And you can create and modify reports such as, like I said, balance sheet, P&L, cash flow, as well as any other financial reports that you see fit for your business. The standard reports from the Report Designer is a query-driven report that includes advanced formatting and display options. So it's a window-based tool that allows you to select any data and customize the format. You can add pictures and position data elements, and you can the formatting templates deliver consistent appearance across the board. And finally, we have the Generic Inquiry Writer. It's a SQL-driven report that delivers real-time data, and allows you to create pivot tables. It's also a web-based utility, and you get defined parameters that users can enter at runtime. So let's head into the software and check them out. If we come in here and go to our standard profit and loss, we go to our finance and take a look at our profit and loss statement. You set your parameters on the home screen here, like your date. It's your parameters here that we can go ahead and set. Let's go ahead and set this date back a few months so we know we have some good data in there. And then let's go ahead and run that report. Here you can see now we have our profit and loss for our whole company. If you take a look at our groupings here, we can bump down into a single company. You can see how all the numbers change, or you can look at it as a consolidated report. We can print it from here, send it, or export it to CSV. What we also have here in our HTML version, our live version, is the ability to drill down into the numbers. So let's, for example, go in and look at sales revenue for year to date. And that's going to open up our detail for that column, which is taking a little longer. And here we can see all of the details for year to date for that column, for that revenue. You can see our actual account number, our sub accounts, and then each individual transaction. If we wanted to go one step further, we could click into these accounts and see the details of those. We also have the ability to export it, like I said, but if we go back to our finance and go to our profit and loss, if we go to the designer, edit the report, here's where we can name our profit and loss statement or name our financial report. We can set our row sets and our column sets and our unit sets. We can have default data sources, margins, all kinds of formatting things that we can do here, and then we can publish this or preview it right from here in order to have the whole company be able to see this report. Our second set of reports are the standard reports from the Report Designer. So for example, if I go in here and go to my sales details by inventory, we can go ahead and run that report. And we can see here's our sales order details by inventory item. So we have our individual inventory item as well as all of our sales for that individual inventory. Now, if I go back here and set my parameters for a little bit farther back and run my report, we'll get a little bit more data in there. Let's go back to 2021. Now you can see all of our inventory items as well as the sales details for each of those transactions. You can click through, click on each individual inventory ID or AR invoice, and you can drill back to the details. Now we can see that individual sales order details. The final reporting is the generic inquiry. So if we come in here and go look at a generic inquiry, let's go ahead and inquiry title. Let's take a look at the invoice items, invoiced items. You can see all of our different attributes of our generic inquiry, the groupings, some of the conditions, parameters, data sources, etc. Let's go ahead and view that inquiry. Now you can see here is all of our invoiced items that are out there. Again, if we wanted to drill into the customer class, anything with a blue highlight, you're able to go ahead and drill down into the actual details of all that. Okay. If we wanted to go ahead and create a pivot table, we can do that. Pivot tables here. If we wanted to go ahead and create a pivot table, we can come up here and click on pivot tables. Leave all this in here. Maybe we move state over to here. Go ahead and view the pivot. Now we're going to view our pivot table here. And this is where we can sort, move columns around, and do whatever you need to do to see your data in a valuable way. And that's the generic inquiry report. So in closing, let's look back at what we talked about today. In the overview section, we talked about favorites, global search, the idea of role-based workspaces, as well as general navigation around the program. When talking about order to invoice, we saw the ability to store notes and files on the records, and we looked at adding items to a sales order and looking at past orders in order to upsell. We also saw how to offer volume discounts. Within the mobile section, Acumatica mobile app allows users to work in the field and add expenses on the fly and submit records in the field. Very nice for those that are out on trucks or in field service, ability to pull inventory from a truck and keep track of everything, as well as add expenses on the fly to projects. When looking at workflows, we also looked at how Acumatica can help you proactively manage the entering of transactions and approvals throughout the system, not just in the PO space. And then in the reporting area, we had looked at the ability to work with 3 different reports: financial reports, standard reports, and the generic inquiries and pivot tables. All of these reports can be added to your dashboards. I want to thank you for exploring Acumatica with us. We understand that implementing a new business management system is a significant decision, and we want to assure you our full support throughout the process here at Cargas. We're confident that Acumatica's scalability, user-friendliness, robust functionality, and reporting will address your key challenges and drive efficiency. We'd be happy to answer any further questions you may have.